All right. Hello, teammates, friends, family. My name is RJ Blackwell. I'm the athletic director here at the Marine Reconnaissance Foundation. And today we have MRF strength athlete Kelli Ramsey with us. How are you doing today, Kelli?
I'm well. I hope you are.
I am. Thank you so much for coming on. Really excited to have you. Um, I kind of want to talk about your journey, in athletics and obviously in the recon community. I think anybody that's a recon Marine knows who Chad is. He's a legend in the community. He doesn't like me using that word, but everybody else uses that word of legend. So, um, getting to know you kind of through him, it's been a real joy, and seeing everything that you're doing. So, if we just start off, kind of tell me a little bit just about your journey, from then until now.
From marriage on, or how I got into sports, or
Yeah, the whole let's start with you getting into sports.
okay. Yeah, I was always a competitive kid on the playground. I didn't. I was a little, I don't know, immature, and I didn't have looks. So the way I, got into social groups was, academics and sports. I'd play as hard as anybody, right in there with the boys and everything. And of course, that was a long time ago, so it's a little different than it is now. So, my dad was very good about, just didn't ever occur to them that there were any limitations on women, even, back in the 80s and 90s. He would take me to the rec center, and we'd play pickup ball with whatever men were there. And I'm 12, and, I'm right on the court with everybody. And it was just like, here, this is what we're doing. So that's kind of the environment I grew up in. So, I ended up playing sports in high school and everything, and just kept at it as I, graduated and went to college. I would, coach, referee, play intramural ball, youth athletics, and everything like that. In fact, Chad and I met. I was refereeing little girls basketball at the Navy base in Panama City, Florida, when he was at dive school back in the day. So that's how we met. And um, then, after we got married, it was like he was the Marine. And, in order for that to work well and for things to stay going, we had to support him. He was gone a lot. And so I was a stay-at-home mom. That's just the way we worked it. I wasn't comfortable being out and about too much. If I had a babysitter, I'd go play pickup ball and stuff like that. Um, then after, the kids were old enough, I started studying and lifting more heavy. I had more time for that. Um, I decided to get certified as a strength and conditioning specialist because, I was playing pickup ball with I was 42 years old playing pickup ball with men, and I was getting knocked around a little bit. So I was like, well, I need to get more sturdy. And I was watching my kids play sports, and I wanted them to avoid injury and things like that. So I really got into the lifting, and especially as it applies to athletics. Um, and so that's kind of how it started. And then during the pandemic, when things were weird and we had to train at home and stuff, I started, I was online a little bit more, and I saw powerlifting, and I was, never really knew much about it. And I kind of got hooked. I signed up for a competition, and with only 8 weeks to prep, got in there and found that it was exactly what I needed. It was a very supportive group of people. They don't care if you're picking up just the bar or 800 pounds. They're cheering for you. They want you to succeed. And so, of course, I had to pull my kids into it. And then from there, I just kept taking on athletes, and I'm like, you've got to try this. People who had never touched a barbell, they don't know what they can do, with their bodies. They're always, fighting with their bodies. Am I too fat? Am I this? I'm not good enough. Get them into this, and then they're focusing, on the numbers on the bar and learning, they can accomplish all these things. They don't have to be super athletic. And so that's just been really satisfying for me.
Man, that's really awesome. And kind of spoken as like a true coach. You can
Yeah.
definitely see your coaching come out
Yeah.
in the way that you speak about it in that way. As an athlete, I find myself I get really, down on myself sometimes. If I'm not hitting like certain benchmarks and certain things that I'm trying to progress to. And that's probably got to be like a really specific skill set in coaching, right? To make sure that you can motivate and not let your athletes get down on themselves and discouraged and things like that.
Yeah, especially these days where, what the kids are seeing on Instagram is only people's highlights. They think that you go in the gym and you make PRs every day. And the way I coach, for a while, you do. But when it slows down, they start pouting. And I'm like, okay, you're being disrespectful to all of us who have, had all kinds of setbacks and we've worked through it. I've got to fight for a year to get a PR now. And I said, you need to cut that out. It's going to look, it's going to go up, but there's going to be some divots in there. And so they get the hang of that, and it helps them kind of apply that in life. As long as you're overall going up, you're going to have some of these times where you don't get PRs or you get injured. You got to work around it. The people that end up, with world records are the ones that just didn't quit. They just kept doing it for a long time.
Man, that's awesome. I do want to, I kind of want to brag on you a little bit. It's probably something you wouldn't have shared, but I saw some of your, like, where you ranked in some of these lifts and stuff, and I was like blown away. Can we talk about that real quick? Just
We
some
can
of,
briefly. But it's the same concept, though. I don't want to disrespect the people who have been doing it for 25 years, through injuries and all that, and have set world records. I mean, I'm okay for my age, I think.
Okay, we can stop there, but everybody gets a chance to kind of go on your Instagram and actually see, some of those rankings and those lifts. And I was blown away. Even showing my wife, and she runs professionally, you're a professional athlete as well. And so there's kind of a kinship in between that where I was showing her and she was just blown away as well. So it was really cool and really encouraging. It's been really exciting to see your videos and see you progress through that. So
Thank you.
and definitely happy to have you on the team. The next thing I wanted to ask you about is, what it means to you to represent the Marine Reconnaissance Foundation as an athlete.
Well, I think we have the same goal of, service in the community. I just have, a skill set that I can apply, physically and mentally to help people because, strength training, done correctly, you can see a whole lot of progress very quickly, and that kind of gets you hooked. So that, like I said before, you're focused on, mastering your physical environment instead of, feeling like a victim. Strength training can help with, they're finding all these new ways that it can help with depression and anxiety and, I mean, all kinds of things. I have a friend who has Tourette's and he uses it as an outlet to, control some of his outbursts. It's just, there's so many applications for it. And like, when you go and you don't know, okay, today my program says I'm supposed to squat 225 for 5, or, which is not much for a guy, but now I don't know if I'm going to get it. And you get onto the bar and you get to the 4th rep and you're like, well, I barely got that. Should I rack it or should I do the 5th rep and see what happens? You come up out of the hole, on the 5th rep. That teaches you something about yourself that you can apply. If you can do that, you can kind of grind through a lot of things in life. And I feel like that can help some of the family members, to see that you can use that to your advantage. I think it can help with some of the conflict that people have over nutrition. When you're lifting, I know I can tell when, especially a female, has not eaten enough because they don't get their lifts. And so then they learn, okay, food is not something I need to, it's not good or bad, it's fuel. Even if it's a cupcake, you can use that to lift. Just call it a lifting day, So it's like it can help with, mental things, dysmorphia. Sometimes it can cause dysmorphia, but I try to correct it more than, and then you get the looks with it too. So it's like kind of a great thing for anybody who's struggling. And with the recon Marines and their families, they've gone through stuff that people can't even fathom. So I feel like it's a really good way to inspire people to take on something that can help them understand they can do anything.
Yeah, that's really cool. What an interesting, I mean, I've seen, you work with, athletes, right? Like post-injury and guys that are trying to hit the next level. I think one of the videos that I saw was some like football player lineman that was trying to get
Yeah.
bigger and then or stronger or whatever, and then was trying, I don't know if he was in high school and then went to the college level or he was getting ready for the NFL draft or
Yeah.
something.
Orlando. He played at ECU, graduated, and got drafted into the XFL. Unfortunately, in between, so he got on the first season with the Vipers. Then they restructured the league and could only keep a certain amount, so he didn't end up staying. But yeah, he wanted to be big, sturdy, ready for whatever was coming. And we did a real good job with him. And of course, he's like our mascot. He's the kind of guy you want around. He's got a lot of charisma and everything. So it was easy to coach him. But and he's had every kind of strength coach you could imagine. So for me, it was like I really was humbled that he trusted me with his training, and he gave me a lot of feedback that was very helpful to help me grow as well.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's definitely a testament to what you're doing. You're very humble about it, but it is really exciting stuff. And well, let's move on to the next question. So being involved in MRF, as a, professional athlete, coach, trainer, all that you do, what's your hope in terms of being an athlete with MRF to help positively impact the community? And I will say that I think we touched on a lot of that in the last question and stuff. So, but if there's anything else you want to add.
I just want people to see that if a, almost 50-year-old woman who, was a stay-at-home mom for 18 years, I've got plenty of health problems just like everybody else. I'm kind of naturally shy. If I can do this and I can step up and say, oh yeah, I'll try Highland Games, sure. You just put your mind to something and spend your time working on it and you can do it. And I also really feel, especially in the military communities, there's this whole, if you're not hurting and what's the way to phrase it? If it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. And I'd like to help people know that, it's very simple. It can be difficult, but it's simple. You don't have to thrash yourself to be a good person. You don't have to thrash yourself to be, there are times with the team building and everything, for Marines and military, they have to do some of that. But as far as just the excess thrashing just to prove that you're somebody, put it towards strength training. You'll get so much more out of it. You'll stay healthy. Chad, he had his fusion, was afraid to train, and now he's lifting some big boy weight, with a fusion. And so if I can have people realizing that they can get into this if they do it correctly, it can really change their lives physically and mentally.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that you kind of pointed on that. I will say that, now me being in my 40s, I wish I knew now, then I wish I knew then kind of what I know now with the importance of like rest days and flexibility and stretching and stuff. I mean, going through, BRC and being in the recon community, it was 110% all the time,
Right.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right. And then, you get older and I realize, I do my best and my progress when I'm allowing my body to respond appropriately through rest days and stretching and all that. So it was really encouraging to hear you say that because it's important, and I think that as a coach, obviously you being able to take that and impart that on your athletes and then them trust you, and they'll be like, well, man, I was hoping to go in there and just like knock it out today in the gym. And you kind of have to like probably pull the reins back sometimes, you know what I mean, on some of your athletes,
Yeah, I have one young man who is training he has a contract to go try out for Rangers and all that. And, he was doing my program, which it works out better if you get really strong and do your conditioning separately. He was trying to overdo it outside the gym, and I knew because his performance was suffering. And I said, okay, you take out one running day per week, cut your long running day to, half of that, and focus more on your lifts. Well, his lifts went up and his running time went down. And, that's really a hard message to send because it's all, well, that's not the way we did it. And I'm like, well, do you want to ruck and run everybody to death, not having trained their glutes and their back and everything? Or can we focus our time on this, help them, because it helps them grow mentally too. Doing a hard, heavy set of 5 squats, that's going to do something for them mentally. that, just running your guts out is not going to do. So I feel like it's, if we could be smarter about the training and, like you said, realize that sometimes recovery is the answer for better performance. And what is the job here? Everybody, including Marines, we're there to perform. The enemy doesn't care if who runs better 12 miles. We don't run into battle, for one thing. It's not 1918. So, like, let's really look at what we're trying to do here. We're trying, yes, the team building stuff where you gotta weed people out and all that. But after that, we need to build people up and not, have everybody who's been in for 4 years have, broken backs.
No, for sure. No, that's a really good point. Spoken as a true coach, Kelly. So, um, well, I want to kind of get into, like, your business, and you can find this on Instagram. It's VS Powerlifting. And that's your company, correct?
Yes. And it's
And that,
only
go ahead.
powerlifting. It's just strength training in general. We do highlight the powerlifters who compete, but I have senior citizens who deadlift, and it's done nothing but help them because we do it correctly. We make sure we only go up by a little bit at a time. But yeah, that's my business. I can't tell everything, but we have some very big things coming this year. So, more involvement, the better. We can help more people with what we're doing. So it's going to be a big year.
That's awesome. Well, if anybody's listening, make sure you guys go to VS Powerlifting. There's a lot of videos on there that I've watched, that I've used and incorporated into some of my routine, and it's just really phenomenal stuff. Kelly, we're extremely happy to have you as an athlete. You bring so much to the community and to our team, and I really appreciate you coming on here and taking a few minutes of your busy day to sit here and talk to our team. So I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for asking me to do it, and I appreciate being a part of this. And I know Chad, he gets a lot out of serving as well, and talks about how you all work very well together and get a lot of great things done, and that's something we need these days.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you, Kelly. Thank you, and thank you, teammates, families, and we'll see you next video.
Thank you. Have a good
Hold
one.
on, let me stop recording.